Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. This is the one and only Maverick Podcast. I'm your host, DJ Maverick, and with me, I've got none other than the entrepreneur, musician, salsero, timbal player, Greg Hallman. What's up, Greg?
What's up? Hey, what's going on, DJ Maverick?
Man,
we've been trying to do this for a long time.
Yeah, I just had to shut down the whole world to get some time with you on your calendar. That's how busy you are. No big deal.
Man, no, life is crazy, man. But I'm happy to be here, bro. I mean, I'm very lucky to have a friend like you in my life for all these years.
Right back at you, man. It's
And
been, I don't know how many years. It's been a while.
man, it in 2023, it's gonna be 30 years,
Really?
right?
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I'll keep
It's a
doing the math on
long
the spot,
time.
but yeah, it's good. I think it's gonna be 30 years. So basically, we've been 27 years
Wow.
that we. Well, I'm going off of 1993, which it could have been 92, right, when we first met.
Yeah, I mean, we were only like 2 or 3 when we met. So, I mean,
That's true, right?
yeah.
For all the people trying to guess our age.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
I remember. I remember us being in the hallway talking about you and Brian Hale's history history fair project.
Oh, yeah.
The mounds
The
of
sod homes,
the sod homes
sod houses.
in Cato, Oklahoma, or something like that.
Yeah, I
Cameron County or something.
I made the newspaper with that big boy.
Oh, must be nice,
Yeah.
dude.
I still put it on my resume to this day. Made
And
the
you
newspaper.
and you had to put on your resume too that you were dating the most beautiful girl at Jackson Middle School, the girl that everybody wanted to date. She was the pageant queen, beauty queen, and you were her man.
I think that was just Entertainment Weekly or something. Probably just a rumor going around. I don't think it's.
You can neither confirm
Yeah, that's right.
nor deny.
Nor deny. So for the 1% of the people out there that don't know you, give us like your elevator pitch, like, whenever somebody says like, hey, what do you do for a living, or what type of guy you are, what's your elevator pitch?
Well, man, lately I've been working a lot on a company that we started back in March of 2018. It started on my mom's birthday, so I'll never forget the day it started. And basically, we use virtual reality to help enhance the way that businesses train their employees. And so we've gotten contracts with the Navy, with the Air Force, thank God. And we've also worked with some local schools and local businesses that want to use virtual reality video mainly, or virtual reality interactivity. So I've been really getting into VR lately, and involved with my wife and her family. They have some businesses here in Oklahoma City and Tulsa, basically like Mexican seafood. It's called Crudolandia, micheladas and stuff.
You describe it
So
like
that's
beach
fun.
food, right? Is what you told me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. Because my wife and her family, they're from Durango, Mexico, and they're very close to Mazatlan. And
Okay.
that beach is awesome.
I
It's like
bet. Yeah.
it's pretty, it's not super touristy, it's not super touristy. It's still kind of got a good vibe to it, good food. So a lot of the food you find there is what we sell.
Awesome. And growing up, like Oklahoma the entire time, like before you met me,
Yes, sir.
like born and
Yeah,
raised.
man.
Yeah.
Born and raised in Southside Oklahoma
On the
City, a proud
playground is
product.
where you spent most of your days. Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
And very, and I loved it, man. Proud product of Oklahoma City Public Schools.
So
Went
when
to
I
Mill
met you,
Elementary.
like super outgoing, super like people person, but were you always like that? Like as a kid, like you were just like that type of guy, or were you kind of shy at the beginning, or what?
No, I've never been shy, man.
Never.
No, I don't think so. Like, there's a recording of me when I was 6 years old, and I was pretending to be like on a kids show. It was called Captain Kangaroo. So I was pretending to be Captain Kangaroo, and I was recording with my brother Josh, and I was 6, and then also singing. I was singing mariachi music from a McDonald's commercial, And back then, the theme song to McDonald's was it's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's.
How do you remember
So,
that?
bro, I love listening to like not lullabies, jingles and TV theme songs.
Nice.
I would love to be able to write jingles or TV theme song. I would just like to be able to write songs one day, but that's just always been a dream.
Yeah.
And when I was in fourth grade, I wrote a play that all the fourth graders at Wheel Elementary had to perform like I won a competition
The
so that
entire
my play was
school.
shows.
Yeah.
Entire fourth grade, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and third graders too. It was now I think about it, it was fourth and third grade, the gifted and talented program. Like both those grades performed it, and
Nice.
it was fun. That was in Mr. Rex Ash's class and Mrs. Reynolds' class. So it was that was I guess you could say that was the first time where I created something along the lines of art and music that it was more than just my parents
Yeah.
or myself enjoyed. Like it was beyond my family.
And the play's called Cats, ladies and gentlemen. You might have heard of it. It kind of went on from there, right? People
The
still
play
go see.
cats.
People still go see it to this day. It's called
Yeah,
Cats.
man.
So,
Memories.
yeah.
Yeah, dude.
All right.
So
So
I've always been into that.
let me see. We've got some songs to get through. And for those who don't know, who haven't listened to the podcast, yes, this is like your top 10 basically life songs, like your most influential songs, right? Because anytime you listen to a particular song, at least for me, like it takes me to that day, to that second, to the place. Like I'm there when I listen to that song. It's crazy how music can take you to a particular place and time, you know? So,
Yes, and I feel the same way. And some of these songs are like that, like they transport. But some of the songs too that I chose are songs that like I would want played at my funeral
oh, wow.
or
You went deep, deep.
yeah, seriously.
I'm not ready to cry, man.
Well, you know it's not that bad, but or also songs that remind me of important people in my life.
Awesome.
So,
Now, the question of the day is going to be, do you want to listen to the entire song or do you want to go snippets?
well, with as much as I talk, we probably should do snippets,
Snippets? All right.
right?
We'll do that. Let's see. So the very first song is Frank Sinatra. It happened in Monterey. What's the story behind that?
Yes. So this song, it's these all these songs are kind of in chronological order. I think like probably most of the time it's when in my life I heard them. So this song actually obviously was recorded before I was born, and the reason it's special is also from a story before I was born. So my mom and dad met in the late '70s in Oklahoma City, and when my mom was from Mexico and my dad is from here, but when they met, my wife didn't know. I'm sorry, my mom didn't know any English, and my dad didn't know that much Spanish. So when they would date, my dad would have Spanish dictionary there, and they basically taught each other's language, right? So the story goes that and also that my mom is she came to Oklahoma from Monterrey, Mexico. So when she visited my dad's parents, um, the the story that I remember is that my grandpa, my dad's dad, sang this song to her because he knew the song, and it's music that he and his wife would listen to back in the '40s,
Okay.
Frank Sinatra type stuff, '40s, '50s, and '60s.
And this is a song that's not as well known, right? As some of his others.
Oh yeah, no, it's not. And I'm a huge Frank Sinatra fan. Like I would own all of his songs if I could, and I plan to. But yeah, I love his songs.
What's crazy to me about Frank Sinatra is like he's almost like talking. Like he's like
Yeah.
super like smooth, like it happened. Like how does he do that?
Well, people say like singers like Christina Aguilera has said this, Mark Anthony has said this about Tony Bennett. Because some of the same they say some things about Tony Bennett that it's almost like he's talking, right? But those people who are true vocalists, they say it's actually harder to sing that way
Really?
because of all the notes in between. It's easy to forget about the less important notes in between the beginning or the end of a phrase.
Yeah.
So I admire that he's able to do that. Yeah, and also with Frank Sinatra, people really admire his phrasing. So every time when you see him live, when you saw him live, he never sang the same song the same way.
Hmm.
He always changed it up.
And did your parents like dance this at their wedding or no? No.
No, this song I don't think means as much to my mom and dad
Okay.
as it does to me. But I just really like this. You know, I really like Frank Sinatra a lot, all his music, and I think about how my grandparents could have listened to his music because around the same time, sort of the same generation, and I love the story about how my grandpa kind of welcomed my mom into their family
Yeah.
when they first met, kind
That's
of like that.
awesome. I imagine him like picking up the vinyl record and putting it on, spinning the tune. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The first song on Greg's Top 10. All right, so tell me a little bit about elementary. What kind of stuff, stands out in your memories?
Yeah, well, this is a good segue to the next song on the list because it comes from that time in my life, elementary school. I remember being like 7 or 8 years old, and I would go to sleep with headphones and a little AM/FM portable radio
Walkman?
that my it was kind of like a Walkman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think it even you could play cassettes in it, with the metal
Nice.
headband.
Did it have the bass boost?
I think it had a bass boost.
Nice.
Yeah, that was the best kind. And my dad gave it to me for me to go to sleep with at night. And what I would listen to is here in Oklahoma City, a radio station called KOMA 92.5. And back then in the 80s, they would play 50s music and 60s music. So I really loved listening to all the Motown songs, the doo-wop, the even the 60s rock, the light rock, and it was perfect for my age, right? It was kind of like innocent music in a way,
Yeah.
or even if it was talking about stuff that I didn't understand as a kid. So, but I love listening to it, and I really like the horns, and I think that music influenced the songs that I like today, because usually what I like has horns in it. It's pretty common, and I usually like up tempo stuff. But yeah, so this next song comes from that era, and it's also from a movie, or it's in a movie that I saw a lot as a kid about Richie Valens. And my parents would watch this movie a lot, and I watched it a lot. I probably watched it like 10 times as a kid, so it was very influential. I was so happy whenever he got his song on the radio, and he bought his mom this nice car and stuff.
Yeah.
It influenced me as a kid. I wanted to do it too.
Nice. Did you like his brother? What was the brother? What was his name?
Yeah, I don't remember the brother's name, Bob or something like that.
Yeah,
But
Bob. Yeah.
yeah,
He was always like ruining the parties and ruining everything.
yeah, man.
And then he
Big
found that
brother.
stuff to draw, like the Disney characters or whatever.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
got into it. He was played by Isai Morales.
Yeah, yeah. So
That was
this
such a
song
good
just
movie.
reminds you of like being a kid listening to the radio and then watching La Bamba or what?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. That's exactly what it does. And of course, Richie Valens, man, I really admire what he did. There's not too many people like him
Yeah.
that was able to do that.
Do you like Los Lobos' version of this or do you like the original better?
Oh, I like the original better.
Original? I thought the Los
Yeah.
Lobos did a pretty decent job. I thought it was pretty good, pretty solid.
No, without a doubt. Like what I like too is when they recorded La Bamba, at the end of the song, they mixed in the traditional mariachi version, the son jarocho version
Oh,
of
yeah.
La Bamba.
I remember that.
So it was like part rock and part traditional, and I loved it because I used to play in a mariachi band, and we would play that song, and it was just a good feeling. People loved it. My dad would sing this song at family reunions,
Yeah.
karaoke. So Richie Valens, awesome. KOMA 50, 60 music. I still have it on my Sirius satellite Sirius XM channels, 50s
Yeah.
and 60s.
That's cool because you were getting like a history music lesson and you didn't even know it probably, you know?
That's exactly right.
Like knowing
Because
about
I
the
listened so much of it.
Temptations and Al
Yes.
Green and all kinds
Of
of.
course, it was the greatest hits like of that time. So yeah, it was the best music, pop music at that time.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Number 2 on the list, Richie Valens, Donna. I thought this was going to be like a heartbreak or something.
No,
No heartbreaks yet, huh?
I think about that sometimes, but
Yeah.
I had some close calls.
Close calls. Nice. What's one thing that you admire about your childhood self? Like, is there anything like, were you like more ambitious? Were you like more willing to take risk? Anything like that?
Wow, that is a hard question, man. Um, I'm just a very nostalgic person, and I thought everybody was, but the older I get, the more I realize that you know a lot of people like to reminisce a lot on their
Yeah,
childhood. And my mom and dad always just tell me stories about their childhood, and I liked hearing it. And here, being here in Oklahoma City, my dad could actually take me to places where he would go as a kid, and that was neat to see growing up.
that's cool.
But I guess just the idea of being in the family, and us we went through good times, bad times. We didn't have all the luxuries in life, and so the struggle that a lot of people go through, I think that it helps to define who you are when you're older. You and I have talked about this.
Yeah,
We worry that about our kids not suffering enough. Well, not suffering is not the right
just
word,
being
but
too soft,
they're yeah,
taking things for
they're grit.
granted. Yeah,
Yeah. So I admire that my mom and dad wanted us to, number one, succeed in education, and they also tried to teach us to be tough in terms of this is what's for dinner and you have to eat it. We have to save money. Um, if you fall down, pick yourself up.
you get one pair of shoes. Well, I don't know, at least I did. I got one pair of shoes per year. You mess them
Yeah.
up, too bad.
And it wasn't really a problem until I got to middle school, and that's when kids first started making fun of me for having Payless
Yeah,
shoes or something like that. And middle school was a hard time, and um, at, at any middle school.
yeah.
But the middle school that you and I went to, it was pretty rough sometimes.
Shout out
And
Jackson.
yeah,
The tigers that could not be
yeah.
tamed by the Tiger King. Right?
Oh wow, that's so true. That's so true, man.
So tell me about this next track that we're about to go into.
So it's kind of from middle school. This song is a Randy Travis song that kind of came out around that time when I was in middle school. I feel like I heard it at Jackson, and
You did
since we're
not
talking
hear
about
this at
Jackson,
Jackson. Where would you?
yeah,
Where would you?
a
There's
matter
no
of fact, I
way.
think that even our mutual friend Brian Hale used to listen to this.
Really?
But I think that's where I first heard it. I know my dad used to play it. My dad would listen to country and western music on the radio, and it was on the radio. I liked how it sounded, and the lyrics always stuck with me. And it always reminds me of my dad. And this is one of the songs. This is one of the songs that I think I would to be played at my funeral.
This
You
one?
know,
Oh wow.
yeah, maybe one of I want a long list of songs. It's either
Man.
this one or the song he sings called "Forever and Ever." I'm gonna
Oh
love
yeah.
you forever.
Yeah.
It came out around the same time, but it's just a very well written song, and it also speaks to my desire to be a songwriter.
Oh okay.
That I would love to do that one day. And the guy who wrote this song, I mean, he wrote this one and "Forever and Ever."
And so this one's Deeper
hit
Than
my
a
brain.
Holler. So
Yeah.
what's the meaning behind Deeper Than a Holler? I don't get the title.
Oh, okay. You don't remember this song?
I've never heard this song.
Oh,
I know
wow.
Forever and Ever Amen or whatever, but not this
Yeah,
one.
yeah. What they usually hear them together, but so holler is like another way to say like a valley or like a deep area.
Oh, I thought he was like
And
a holler, like a shout. I was like, where are you going with this song, man?
and basically, it's just talking about his version of a love song
Okay.
and how much he loves, how deep he loves, how high he loves.
Man, so you're telling me you were
Yeah.
listening to this at Jackson? You were rolling with this song. I can't
Man,
believe that.
it was either that or Whoop There It Is.
That sounds more like it. Yeah, I would believe that.
Speaking of that,
Yeah.
like I had on my list of honorable mentions. I don't think it's on my top 10 list, right? The,
Nah.
on Bended Knee, Boys to Men. Yeah, I took it off, right?
You took it. Well, yeah, you took it off. Oh no.
But on Bended Knee, I love it because that you talked about music transporting you. Boys to Men, you mentioned End of the Road.
Yeah.
Same thing with me, and also on the Bended Knee. It reminds me of my brother Josh and I. We would listen to Boys to Men. He really loved Boys to Men. I loved their music back then. I think they were awesome. And it reminds me of Jackson, those dances that they would do in the auditorium.
No heartbreaks yet.
In middle school?
Not even with the Boys to Men.
Oh yeah. In middle school, there were some heartbreaks for sure. I mean, middle school.
You don't have to say names or anything. We'll keep it. We'll keep it clean.
Yeah. I think. I mean, I had my first girlfriend back when I was at Jackson School. It lasted a whole 2 weeks.
Nice. That's more than me, I think. I remember those school dances, and we were talking earlier this week about like one of the songs that triggers me back to those school dances is Fresh Prince, the Boom Shake the Room.
Oh yeah.
And I can like picture the cassette tape. It was all red and it was clear. And I remember handing the cassette tape to Mr. Ray. He said was the guy, right? Because I couldn't remember the guy's name.
Billy Ray.
Yeah. So I remember handing him the tape, and I was like, play this one.
Wow.
And then like the place, the place went crazy. And he was like,
tick, tick, tick.
Tick, tick, boom. Yeah. It was awesome. Like, I'll never forget
so
that.
Was that your first time picking a song for a party?
Probably so. Like in front of people, at least,
No way.
Yeah.
Especially in front of people that weren't your family, right?
Yeah. And he would just like bring out like the school like cassette players and like hook it up to like a regular PA system or something. Like, it wasn't anything fancy, but at the time it was like, oh man, like, he's a DJ. He's playing music. It's a crazy party.
Wow. Did you remember that song? R. Kelly was. They would do a lot of R. Kelly. Your Body's Calling. H-Town. Somebody Rockin' Knockin' the Boots.
Man, I'm surprised like we didn't have a baby like in middle school. If you go back and listen to all those lyrics, it's it's incredible.
Yeah. And I'll make love to you.
My body's telling me
right. And then, do you remember this one? I get so weak in the knees.
SWB.
Oh, I love that song.
Man, that's gonna be like our KOMA songs. We're gonna be like, all right, grandkids. Grandpa's gonna play a classic for you guys right now.
Isn't that weird?
It's crazy.
Weird to think that. Yeah, man. Throwback.
So this next one is even more of a throwback. It's Billie Jean, of course, Michael Jackson, right? What's the story behind this? Because I've got a crazy story with Michael Jackson too. Like, he's like one of my all-time favorites. What's the story behind this? One of my all-time favorites
too. And nowadays you got to be careful. How loud you say that, right? Because a lot of people are like anti-Michael Jackson right now, right? But we're talking about his music, right? Him as an artist, and I mean.
It's so hard to do that. Like, you got to separate the art from the artist. And I mean, same thing with R. Kelly, like a bunch of guys.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
That's
like
right.
Bruno Mars better be like on his best behavior.
I think he will be.
Or I can't play anything at weddings. Like, I can't play anything. Like, Bruno Mars is like the go-to.
Bruno Mars is perfect. And I admire that he has also that old soul too. Like, he likes listening to older music, paying homage to those who came before him. And so I kind of feel like I have that in common with him. But yeah, this Michael Jackson song, you're gonna find this funny. So it must have been '94, I think, and it's the first CD I ever bought.
Oh yeah,
or that mom and dad bought for me.
Nice.
So my mom and dad got me a CD player, and this song came with it. Or this it was like a mix. It was a mix CD, but it was sold that way, like a compilation.
Yeah.
And it had Billie Jean. It was mainly Thriller album.
So you didn't have this on cassette like when it first came out?
No. Like, I didn't even have a whole lot of cassettes either, I don't think. but this was the first CD I had, and it was the first time I was listening to something in stereo, and it's the first time I could hear each track
Yeah.
of the song. You know, first the drums, and then the keyboards come in. So I loved listening to the production of it. Quincy Jones, and obviously the video was great too, obviously, but no, yeah, this song is one of my favorites. Like, very well produced, and I didn't really know what the song was about, but I just, the way that it was recorded, and the arrangement, I loved it. So it speaks to, you know, my hobby, or I guess you could say my interest in music production, recording music.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very well done.
Were you into breakdancing at the time or no?
I didn't get into breakdancing until later, like 96, 97. I wish I could still breakdance.
Yeah.
But I just break my arm.
I remember carrying around cardboards with my friends, and then just laying them down and like practicing like backspins and like moonwalks and stuff like that.
No way.
Yeah.
How old were you?
Man, this was in elementary. We entered the talent show, and we danced to Smooth Criminal. And the place
so
went
cool.
crazy. Like, I moonwalked in front of like the stage and stuff, and like, at least in my mind, we were like, you know, superstars that day. But
You said this elementary school?
yeah,
Which elementary school did you go to?
Lee.
Oh, right there on Walker, right?
Yeah. What about you?
29th and Walker. I went to Wheeler Elementary, which is closer to I-35 on 25th Street.
Okay.
Over there by, you know, where Dos Mil Doces used to be
Yeah,
called
yeah,
El
yeah.
Aragon.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom and dad moved there when I was in 3rd grade, but I was also going there. I went there since kindergarten, so it was on the southeast side of town.
I like it. Have you seen the documentary, the Quincy Jones documentary?
No,
You should
I would
watch
love to
it.
see
It's
that.
pretty incredible. He worked
Yeah.
with Frank Sinatra too, which is pretty crazy.
Why didn't I know that?
Yeah, it's crazy. You need to watch
What?
it.
What? I
Yeah.
gotta listen to that. Oh, I think they did that Stevie Wonder song, right? Together, I think.
He worked with so many people, and like actual like orchestra, like arrangements,
yes.
and writing all that out and stuff. It's
Oh,
crazy.
Crazy talented, man, and all the Grammys that he's won. And there's a reason Michael Jackson wanted to work with him. And I love watching, even on YouTube, videos talking about the making of the music. Like, they interviewed Michael Jackson's drummer. One of the guys from Toto played down guitar for Human Nature.
Man,
I love it. Like, I wish I could have my own studio and make original songs like that.
listen to that right there.
Yeah,
Man, that
I
guitar,
think the guy who did that, yeah, that's what I was talking about, from Toto, I think.
that's
So
crazy.
I remember he was saying that he had to be careful not to make it too rock and also not too R&B. It had to be a mix, so it would be, you know, radio friendly for as many radio
Okay,
channels as possible.
that makes sense. Wow,
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, very good. Like, this is the kind of music that will live forever.
Yep. All right, let's go into this next track. This one, I don't know anything about the artist or the song. Like, so this is T-Bone, right?
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
T-Bone. So this is also middle school, like almost into 9th grade, and it's just a song that I guess you could say was influential to me. My brother and Josh and I would listen to his music a lot, and he's from California, and he would basically do Christian rap.
Okay.
So I really like the message. You know, basically he's talking about all of his music is about, you know, growing up in, you know, poor neighborhood, and like you know, with a lot of gang activity. So he's had to navigate that, and so he reminded me of how I grew up, I guess you could say. And he's wanted to stay spiritual, you know, wanting to stay true to his Christian beliefs. So it just, when I listen to it, it's almost kind of like inspiring. Like, if, you know, if he could do it, you know, we can do it too, kind of thing.
And your
But
brother's
it
the
was-
one that introduced you to him, or how did you?
Wow.
Because back then it wasn't like you could like go on YouTube and see what's trending, or like there was none of that. You know, I don't even
Oh,
know.
you know, I know how we found out about him. So you know that store Mardell?
Yeah.
So we would go there to buy, you know, T-shirts. They would have like these funny Christian T-shirts, and in the music section, we would look for Christian rap because my brother and I were into rap,
Yeah.
but we wanted to listen to Christian rap, and we found this. I was like, oh wow, he's also Hispanic too, and he's also got lyrics in Spanish. This is interesting. So so this whole album was great. So it reminds me of that, like being in the room with my brother listening to this. And at the same time, there was another group called Gospel Gangster around that time that would release West Coast funk rap, and or like West Coast gangster rap, but Christian. And we would listen to that even in our Ford Aerostar minivan. Like my mom and dad would pop the cassette in, and we would all listen to it. And the best song that from that time about them that I remember, it says, "Oh, double G's roll on," and I also like the production of that song. Like it's very much funk, and it just I love the chords, like the beats per minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the difference, I think, between you and me. At this time, I was listening to NWA. I was listening to Tupac, listening to like all that West Coast stuff,
Oh no,
like,
we would listen to that too, Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, and
so it was a nice balance.
but obviously we couldn't listen to that in front of our parents, and we were trying to be good kids.
Yeah. So you were wearing the Christian shirts, and I was wearing like the Bugs Bunny gangster shirts. You remember those?
Yep. Oh yes, I used to have one, man. Foghorn Leghorn.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy how that became so popular?
I don't even know where that came from, or it was weird. It was just
very weird.
I just remember everybody. Yeah, everybody was wearing that.
And before that, it was the Malcolm X clothes.
Yeah.
And the colorful, throwback to Africa clothes. Remember that? Like living color.
And the Baja like jacket things.
Oh yes.
You remember those?
Yes, that's right. Almost like a poncho.
Yeah, and they felt like those bags,
right, burlap.
Yeah. I was like,
yeah, it felt like a potato bag. Yeah.
That was like super popular back then too. Crazy. Yeah, there was like a ton of kids like that was like every day, like it was like their uniform. Kids. Yeah. And those
did you
things.
Play soccer?
Yeah, I did actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
you were with Mr. Elizondo, right? Did you play?
Oh, you're talking in middle school or?
Yeah, I was talking in middle school.
Not in middle school. No.
Yeah, you didn't play in middle school.
I didn't play till high school. Yeah, middle school.
For the U.S. Grant team.
Yeah.
Soccer team. Oh wow.
Yeah. But middle school, I was just trying to like not get beat up and like just do the right thing.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah, it was not that school was pretty crazy. I mean, man, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I often think about like how differently like your life could have been if just a small decision to like ditch one day or something crazy like that could have just like ruined, who knows what. It's crazy.
All right. Yeah. Fight the wrong person, or smoke something you shouldn't be smoking. Yeah. There was, and I think it's it's not anybody's fault. I don't think that happened. It was just society at the time, and with gang activity being so popular and prevalent, and then poverty. I mean, poverty does things to people.
What's one thing that if you could go back and tell yourself something back in the day, what would you say? Like if you could go travel back in time to Jackson, like what would you tell Greg at that time?
Man, I think that I probably would have told myself to maybe study engineering or maybe be a pharmacist. I don't know. Like I went down the education path to work as an educator, and it doesn't pay very well. But when I was in college, that was okay. I didn't care about getting a lot of money because it was to change the world. I was being an idealist. But having a family, you can't live off of idealistic ideas, right? That doesn't pay the rent, especially with the way Oklahoma pays educators, right? So I think I probably would go back and change maybe what I studied.
But like the older I get, I realize that it's more important of how you make your money than how much money you make. You know,
Ooh, I see what you're saying.
like I think happiness is like way underrated. Like if you could just, be happy doing whatever it is that you're happy doing, I think that matters more than like how much you're making. You
Yeah,
know,
well, that's true because there's a lot of people making a lot of money, but they're not happy
miserable.
and yeah, miserable. Yes, for sure. Like I thought about being a lawyer too for a little bit, and you know, lawyers can make good money, but I've, most people that I talked to said it's very stressful. 80 hours a week.
Yeah. And I
It
remember
also depends on what you're going to do.
you were going to the East Coast for college, right? Like flying
Yeah,
back and forth for a while. I remember like man, you
yeah,
took it all the way. Like you were serious about education and doing all that, right?
yeah. Well, I was fortunate and blessed enough to get a scholarship that paid for my bachelor's at OU, and it was awesome that you and I got to hang out at OU too. Like, I'm very proud of what you've accomplished, man, and being able to see you become the man that you are. And I'm very lucky because not a lot of us at Jackson, or really, I guess you could say from this side of town, were able to overcome that. And it's inspiring to hear your story, and especially when you even had a counselor tell you that you should go to Votech.
Yeah, it was
Um,
crazy. Like she said, it's probably unlikely your family can afford college. If you go study air conditioning repair, it makes decent money and it'll probably be a good route for you. But what that did was like do the opposite. Like that pissed me
it
off.
motivated
It gave me another
you.
chip on my shoulder to like be like, I'm gonna prove you wrong. And
and and it's not like you're knocking that profession. What
no,
you're saying is that it wasn't what you wanted to do. You
right.
knew what you wanted to do.
Like she was just putting me in this box just because of like where I came from, how much money my parents made. Like she knew that kind of stuff, right? So she was just like, this is where you need to go.
And
Yeah.
but you knew that you wanted to go to college, and she was telling you to stop dreaming.
Yeah. And that's my problem
Yeah.
to this day is like I'm a dreamer and I'm always thinking about like big dreams. And I don't know if I'll ever get there, but I've got the dreams.
Well, no, it pays to be a dreamer, I think. And one thing that I hear a lot from people who've done it, who are living their dream, is that you just got to do it, even if it takes years to get there. At least you're working your way to that, because a lot of people have a dream and don't do anything about getting to that dream. So, for example, the role that music plays in your life, I think is beautiful. Like I admire how much you're into music, and I admire that you're actually doing it. Like the fact that we're here tonight, right now at midnight,
Yeah, that's crazy.
doing this.
My
It's part
bad.
of your dream, and it's going to get you there. No, it's not. I'm not saying it because of that. I'm saying that you're putting energy into it, and it's going to pay off.
Yeah. But you know why we're here
Yeah.
right now?
Why is that?
Because music sounds better with you.
Oh, very nice.
Thanks for tuning in to KOMA. Tell me about this next song.
So I was watching MTV, high school, 16, 17 years old, and house music was taking off back then. And the song, I got hooked and like watching the music video of it, and I was really into it, but it's not like I bought the CD or anything, but it stuck with me, I guess you could say. And then I forgot about it, like going to college, going to New York City to go for grad school. But then here lately, like 2015, I was listening to a song called Lean On by DJ Snake.
Yeah, Major Lazer.
Major Lazer, yes. Yeah. So I was like, man, this is a cool sound because it kind of reminds me of stuff that I listened to when I was younger, but this is on the radio now and it's modern. And they have throwback, references to that kind of music. And I started thinking, wow, I was in high school when house was coming out, and I loved all these house songs, even like Daft Punk, that song, The Funk.
Yep.
I loved it when I was younger, but I didn't even know who those guys were. And then, so I heard their 2015 album, Random Access Memories.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
whole
awesome. Album.
And then you just sprinkle Pharrell on top of that, just
yeah,
to make it even crazier.
Yes, and they didn't stop. The Weeknd, So I started going back to listen to all these old house songs, and I remembered that this song to me is the perfect house song.
Yeah.
Like this song is not missing anything. And
This
of course, I like the lyrics.
this song right here is a good song to ride at night in your car with the windows rolled down on like a summer day. Man,
Exactly.
that's the
So
vibe
good.
that I'm feeling right now.
That is the perfect vibe.
Do you do that?
And
You go on cruises ever and just like listen to music?
when I was single, I did it a lot. With family, you don't have a lot of time to go do that. But yeah, I used to do that, and it's a good feeling, man. It's a good way to kill stress, to relax, and listen to good music. And as a matter of fact, what I was also going to mention about this song is I like samples. That probably speaks back to when I was younger and into hip hop and rap, and they did something and still do that. It's called plunderphony. That's a term I learned from DJ Uncle. No, not Uncle. I can't remember. DJ Shadow. DJ Shadow I heard him call it plunderphony, where you take other people's music recordings and make it your own. And even in this house song, they're sampling because the background sample is a song by Chaka Khan called Fate.
Really?
And the reason I know about that is there's a website called whosampled.com, and you can see where people got their inspiration from, what pieces of the song they took. And I love this sample.
It's crazy how much you're into music too. I mean, I remember you playing like in bands. What were those bomberos, right? Los bomberos, right?
How do you know about Los Bomberos?
Hey, we've got people on the Maverick Podcast that tell me about Los Bomberos, dude.
I didn't think you knew about that. Did I tell you about that? Well, so this was maybe senior year, I think, of high school. No, it was like junior year, part junior, part senior year. No, it was all senior year. But anyways, I was really into this Cuban album that had recently come out called the Buena Vista Social Club. And there was a guy in my Spanish class named Josh Christian, who was into it as well. I didn't even know he had it. Like I checked it out from the library, that CD. And so he and I started, talking about Cuban music.
For the
And then I
kids
started
listening, a library was this big space with a bunch of books, and that's where you would
Right.
go to look up stuff. They're actual physical books, and they were organized. The
Yeah.
Dewey System. Look it up. Google it.
Right. Card catalog.
Yeah.
And they had CDs too. And CDs are these circles, right? They're like a glass donut. But so anyway, so we just thought we should start up a group. And I forgot how the name Los Bomberos came about, but we had trombone, we had sax, we had trumpet. I would play the congas. I would sing. Josh Christian was on lead guitar. We had Sam Fredrickson on the rhythm guitar. We had piano.
But did you know about
live drum
music,
set.
or you just like?
No.
So you just taught yourself to play?
Yes and no, because I didn't really play very well. Like all I did was back then was I just did hand percussion and sing, But everybody else in the band actually knew. We had bass too. It wasn't until later that I would actually learn how to play instruments and to read music and learn more about how a song is put together. But that was my first time in high school. We even played at our high school prom.
Really?
Yeah,
Man.
just like Saved by the Bell.
Or Back to the Future. It's like,
And Back to the
yeah,
Future.
like, you kids aren't
Yes.
ready for this. But,
That's right.
but your
But you-
kids, they're gonna love it.
Exactly. One of my favorite movies.
That's awesome, man.
We
All
played
right.
at the Arts Festival.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And I
then I
remember in college, used to be like big into salsa and merengue.
Yeah.
And like you had your dorm, you didn't have a roommate, right? Because I remember one time I went to your dorm and it was like pimped out. Like you had like your bed like against the wall. Like it wasn't like a double bed. Like I was living in the hood dorms and I came in here and it was all of a sudden I'm like in a New York loft with like, a little like stereo and a bed and all kinds of posters and stuff. You never had a room?
Couch Tower, right?
Yeah.
With Burger King, right?
Yeah. You didn't have a roommate?
I did. So that's a funny story too. So my freshman year at OU, first semester, I had a roommate, and he was a great guy. He kill it on the classical piano, and like he played football in high school, and but he just made some bad choices, and you know made some mistakes that he had to leave OU, like, and so because he got, in essence, he wasn't allowed. He had to take. I think that he was on academic probation or whatever, so he wasn't on campus anymore. And it was, and the whole, we were halfway through the school year, so I didn't get a roommate. I even asked. I was like, "Am I going to get a roommate?"
You asked, I
Uh,
would have been like, I'm gonna be
well,
quiet.
yeah. Well, I wanted to make sure I could do what I wanted to do, and it was great. Like, we're talking January year 2000 all the way till May of the year 2000. I had my own dorm to myself, and I took out all his stuff, and yeah, and had my bed in
You had
there,
like a rug.
stereo.
You had like some
Yeah.
timbales. I remember. I think I went there because we were gonna go to like a Pan Am party. You remember Pan Am parties
Yes.
at
Oh, those
OU?
are awesome. Yeah,
Man, dude, that
yeah.
was
I
like,
remember one time after a Pan Am party, we were in your pickup truck talking till late at night after the party, talking about life.
yeah, those were
You
the
remember
best
that?
parties, man. Because people would
Yeah,
go
man.
there to know you're gonna dance. And like, if you're not gonna dance, like, don't go to those parties.
Exactly. Yeah, and there was always people dancing,
Yep.
and the floor was always packed, and they had good music. I mean, obviously, it was all Latin music, right? Um, but yeah, I mean, it was great. The merengue was just taking off back then,
And then you were
and
like the salsero. Where'd you learn how to dance salsa?
man, I just
In New York?
just practice. No, no, no,
No.
like because I didn't go to New York until after the Pan Am parties. But I was so intent on going to New York that I used to have pictures of New York City in my dorm to remind me that one day I'm going to be in New York. And but in any case, I just got into the salsa started with that Buena Vista Social Club in high school, starting that band Los Bomberos, and I always wanted to learn how to dance it. So I would just watch people dance it and try to copy what they did at the Pan Am parties,
Yeah.
and listening to more and more albums of salsa, and I got really into it, and
Because you
especially
could do
just
the fancy turns and all that. Like, I
yeah,
remember,
I used
like,
to do that. I
man.
used to do that. Yeah, and that's when I got into it. I even was started giving salsa dance lessons on campus. Like, we got invited once to give a dance lesson to a sorority.
Oh, yeah?
Of the Omega Delta Phi brothers. We were
Okay.
teaching them merengue and salsa. Shout out to all the OD5 guys, and that's how that we were into it, and it was a lot of fun, and because it was, like I said, it was kind of popular at the time, especially the merengue, and bachata was just getting started.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't really like bachata that much, but yeah, and this is around the time too that, or a little bit after when you started over at 106.7 FM, the La
La
Zeta, right?
Seta. Yeah.
Yeah, as a radio DJ there. That was like towards the end of your high school, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think
That's awesome.
98 was when I started. And then it kept doing it through college for a bit too. So it was fun.
Even while you were at college.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is awesome, bro. And but no, we had good times at OU, and so that's how I got into it for sure. And started a band there called Conjunto Clave. There was 12 of us, and we would play Campus Corner, and I still have some of those recordings and photos.
So if there's 12 of you, how much would you get paid at the end of the
Wow, dude, I don't even
night?
remember getting paid.
That's what I wonder
I'm
about
sure that,
bandas too, like Banda MS or Banda Recol or
yeah.
something. Like, how much do those dudes like take home at the end of the night? There's like 20 of them.
And of course they have seniority too, right?
Yeah.
Like the guys who've been in the band longer get more of the cut. They charge like $100,000, right? hundred twenty five
Oh,
thousand dollars for
yeah,
it.
probably so. So it probably works out, but
Wow,
still, like flying that many people, putting that many people in hotels, like feeding
yeah,
them, like it's just the
expensive, man.
logistics is probably crazy.
No, what did I? I didn't tell you the story about. I was at the Brazilian restaurant, the one in Penn Square, Texas de Brazil. My wife and I, Jorge Hernandez and his wife Brenda, shout out to them. We were having lunch there, and the guy from Banda MS, the leader, walks in,
Oh yeah.
and we said hi to him, took pictures with him, and Brenda was the one that told us, "Oh, that's the guy from Banda MS." So my wife Nancy and I, we really like Banda, and I started, I like their songs too, very romantic. And he was in there because he was going to take the whole band to eat at this all you can eat Brazilian place. And I was like, wow, imagine that, Bill.
So I guess they're doing all right if they're going to eat,
Yeah, at a nice restaurant,
Yeah,
all
they're
you can
doing all
eat.
right. So tell me
Living
about this
right, man.
next song.
So this next song, is it Te Necesito?
Te necesito,
Oh
yeah.
yes, thank you. So I first started getting into Luis Miguel in the year 2000. So I studied abroad in Mexico for one semester in Puebla, and that's when he released the song La Bikina, and it was the first time he was doing on a recorded album mariachi, and so everybody was listening to La Bikina. And at first I was like, I really wasn't into it, but then I started listening to it more, and I liked his boleros and stuff, because he did his romances, which is his most commercially successful stuff. But not until around the time I started dating my wife, Nancy, that I started getting into his upbeat pop stuff. And every time I listened to his music, it reminded me of, at the time, my girlfriend Nancy, because she really liked him too. So this was like our song Te Necesito, and right now what's playing is Suave, and that's one of my favorite songs of his too, upbeat, and so I just really like his style, his music choices.
And
Like
how
I
many
feel like
times have you seen them in concert?
twice, and the
You
first time we saw
drove,
him,
right?
we flew all the way to Colorado for my wife's birthday, and we visited my brother out there, my brother Miguel out there too in Denver, and we were on the fifth row watching him live, and then when he came to Oklahoma City, we were sitting front row because it's the only musician that my wife and I really like a lot, to where we would spend that kind of money on him, and I like his band. I follow his band on Instagram and stuff, and those musicians are just top musicians, and his his upbeat pop stuff is more like what I would like. It's something you would hear like on KOMA or something like that.
And I think his musicians have to be on point, because if not, he's going to throw that mic at you. Have you seen that video?
Exactly. Yes.
Like he
The
takes
sound
his
guy.
sound like you
Oh
can't have any feedback,
no,
nothing. Like he's going to
he's
get
so
mad.
polished. He is so polished, man. Like everything he does, he has to do it polished, right? And a lot of people compare him to Frank Sinatra, or even in a way to Michael Jackson. And I think those are accurate comparisons. He recorded with Frank Sinatra. He likes to change it up live in terms of his vocal phrasing, just like Frank Sinatra, improvising.
Yeah, like sometimes if there's a
Um,
break, he'll just be like do do da do do da do do, like he'll just go
yeah,
on for like bars, just like just
yes,
freestyling.
improvising, ad libbing. Yeah, and I love it. Like when he does that, to me, it's perfect. I mean, the musicians when they solo and stuff, and like the arrangements, like here's why I like Luis Miguel the most, I think. And this song right now, Te Necesito, it's like my wife and I's couple song.
So we're gonna dedicate it.
Yeah,
This
and
one's going out
yes,
to a
this
very
one-
special
this
lady
one goes out
tonight.
to my wife.
From a
That's
very
right,
special
Nancy
guy to a
Berenice.
very special lady going out.
Y te amo.
There you go. So this is like, I don't know, it's pretty big, I guess. It's not one of his biggest tracks, but
No,
it's pretty popular.
but this came out around the time that I met my wife, and I love the sound of it. It's so smooth, the jazz chords. There's a group in the background called Take Six. They're like a vocal group. They're doing the background vocals. The song was written by Juan Luis Guerra,
Really?
another man that I admire very much. Yes.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a great musician. Does a lot of Christian stuff too, and just to me, just a well written song, well done, well recorded. My favorite song of his is Suave, that you were playing earlier, but written by his guitarist. And anyways, the reason I like Luis Miguel is that I wish I was like him. Like I wish I could sing like him. I wish
I mean,
had,
you're halfway
his
there.
money.
You got the suits, you can dance, you got the New York vibe. Like you're halfway there.
I wish, man. I wish, dude. No, man. Like I kind of want my kids to start singing and recording the way that he did, but I know that it's tough because his childhood, just like Michael Jackson's childhood,
Yeah,
was in essence ruined by the industry.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are your kids into music or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're starting to get into it. Like even my son Daniel, who at the moment is 8 years old, he wrote his first song. Well,
Really?
he's been writing songs, but he actually wrote one that he actually recorded,
Oh, it's
and
recorded?
it's a country song. Yeah, I
What?
recorded it with him.
Deeper than a
I mean,
holler part two?
and he likes deeper than I, and that's another reason. That's another reason I like that song is because now I passed it on to my kids, and they both like it. Gabriel and Daniel both like it. Gabriel's my 6-year-old, and they like that song. And I told them this is a song that Grandpa likes, and so Daniel says I only like country music. So right now he's in his country phase, and he wrote a country song,
That's
and
awesome.
the song goes, I was sitting on the road, waiting for a ride. A girl drived up, and I can't remember the rest,
I
but
like it.
basically,
But I
yeah.
want to put some 808s in that, I think.
Yeah. Remix.
Remix.
Yes. Yes.
That's awesome.
Which that makes me, I still laugh to this day. Saul Aguilera's birthday party, and you were playing Las Mañanitas,
Yeah.
and it was his 40th birthday party, and then you dropped in that reggae air horn
Yep.
that you always hear. Yes, the DJ horn
Yeah.
over the Las Mañanitas mariachi. It was hilarious.
So with your kids, do you try to like, teach them about different types of music, or do you just let them like
Yeah.
kind of discover on their own, or what do you do there?
No, a little bit of both. I'm always talking to them about the songs that I like or that my parents like, songs that my wife likes. Try to explain to them the different parts of a song. Want to get piano lessons started for them, singing lessons. Daniel asked for a toy guitar, and Gabriel just recently asked for a toy saxophone. So yeah, we talk about it a lot.
Greg y
And
los Dinos.
oh, yes, I want that to happen in a way.
You're gonna need more kids because you need a bass player, you need a drums, you need.
That's true. That's true. But I don't want to push it too much,
Yeah.
you know,
So
because
this next
I
song,
don't want to stress them out.
what's the story about this next song? Ruben Blades, Vida.
Oh man, so this song is so deep. Another reason I wanted to put songs on this list that had an impact, like, or that I will always want to listen to. You know, sometimes you get tired of hearing certain songs, but certain songs you always want to listen to it.
Yep.
So some of these songs are like that. I'll always want to listen to it. But this song to me is so deep. The lyrics. This came out when I was 21, 22, and just one of my favorite salsa singers, and he's also a songwriter. So he speaks to my desire that I'd like to write songs. I would like to write songs that other people will record. And to me, this song, when I heard it, I was like, man, I wish I would have written it. Like, it was so well written and so deep, talking about the human experience. And the song just talks about life, really. And for example, he says, our friends are like the family that we choose. And he says things like in this song about, he says, when you see white bones on the ground, you don't know if they were white or black. They're just, the bones are the same color. Like, in essence, we're all the same inside.
Yeah.
And he says, if death doesn't discriminate, why should life discriminate? And he says, even little kids know that. And just a bunch of gems throughout it. It's just very deep song, and also well produced. Like, I love that Caribbean salsa sound that it has.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's Caribbean. He's from Panama, and he in the 70s he recorded a lot of deep songs too. Like, when I heard my very first Ruben Blades recordings, I was at Catlet Music Center.
Oh, wow.
You remember Catlet?
Yeah.
And you could go into the music library, listen to music. Did you do that?
No, I didn't.
No.
They had a library?
Yeah, they had a library, and with LPs, like, vinyl,
No
and
way.
CDs. So I got an LP.
I'll be right back.
Right. You go ahead. Yeah, bro. It's still there, man. And I went in there, and I gave them a list of these songs I wanted to, or these albums I wanted to check out. So I'd heard people referenced in other songs, they talked about Ruben Blades, and I was like, I want to see what's going on with him. So I got this album. It's co-produced. Well, it's Ruben Blades and Willy Colon together, another famous salsa guy from the '70s, and it's called Siembra. And as I was listening to it, I was crying because I was like, wow, this guy's is talking about the kind of things that I want to talk about. Like he talked about, unification, and it doesn't matter where we're from. We need to be unified. We need to make the world a better place. And I was crying when I listened to it, and I still cry every time I hear this song that's
Wow.
playing right now.
So this takes you back to that room at Catlit when you were
Yeah,
listening to his
yeah,
stuff? Yeah.
yeah, for sure, for
Wow.
sure. And it's so moving. Like to me, it's so poetic. Like to me, this song is a masterpiece, like a painting, and it's so well done. And if you look at the lyrics, you'll see what I'm talking about. How deep it is, and
So you
it's just
mentioned
so
like
well made.
you mentioned a couple of times that you want to write songs. Have you tried writing songs? Have you like you've got
Oh yeah,
notebooks and stuff? Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah. I remember one time I sent you a song that I wrote and I arranged and recorded, and
Yeah,
I
because you
had
even
one of my
had
wife's cousin.
a girl on the
Yeah,
vocals, right? Yeah, I remember
yeah.
that.
My
Yeah.
my wife's cousin, who sings, recorded that, and I wrote. It was a song for my wife, and basically the chorus goes, "Cuando tengo tu amor." Um, I can't remember the rest.
Remix.
Yo me siento feliz, something like that. It's a happy love song.
So you continue to write, or
Oh yeah,
yeah?
yeah. Man, a matter of fact, here on my phone, I have some songs. Like every time I think of ideas or lyrics, I write them down on my phone in Evernote.
Do you know
And right,
Charlie Pugh? Do you know who that is?
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah. He recorded his whole album on the voice memo deal. Like whenever
no
he had
way.
ideas, like he would just record and just like boom, boom, like just like different little things. And from
Yeah,
those notes, like he made his album.
Timberland does that too. That he has a master class,
Oh
and that's
yeah,
one of the things he says in his master class. He says first you have to lay down the template, the base of it, or base as BASE,
yeah.
and um, the overall structure. He does it first vocally, and then passes it over to this instrument or that instrument. So that's interesting that he does that. Like sometimes I do record audio so that I don't forget the melody that went with the lyrics. Or sometimes I just write down a song idea or some actual parts of lyrics. So there's three songs I'm working on right now. One is for my wife, and I want it to be like a Luis Miguel upbeat type song, and it has her name in it. And the chorus goes Nancy, vida mia, and then I do phrasing in between. But the chorus is with the background singer is Nancy, vida mia, and then I want to record a song for my dad and for my mom,
Awesome.
and to give that to them.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, but you talk about songwriters. The guy right now, Ruben Blades, or sometimes called Ruben Blas, bro. He writes so many good songs, and he's such a good songwriter.
That's an awesome track, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Ruben Blades Vida. And now, I was surprised when I saw this on the list. This next track, I was like, "Oh wow, this is because
Oh, okay.
your list is like super diverse. Like, you know, I guess English, Spanish, all
Well,
kinds of genres. It's
well,
like
just like you.
that's true. Like if you get in the car with me, like we'll go from like hip hop to sometimes country to Latin stuff, like all over the place.
You have a
And
Guns N' Roses shirt on.
yeah, like it's
Yeah,
super cliche to say like, oh, I listen to all kinds of music, but
yeah.
I
Everybody
do.
says that,
Yeah,
right?
until you start asking them, well, yeah, you like country? Like, well, not country, but I listen to all kinds of music. Oh yeah, you listen to hip? Well, not
Heavy
hip hop.
metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, and plus me, since I'm half white, half Mexican, I've always lived my life in both worlds, one foot in each culture. So that's just my life. So that's why the music is like that too, in my opinion. And but this next song, um, it's not so much a part of my past as it is my future, Like,
Okay.
obviously, it is a part of my past. It's from the movie Coco. And the reason I say it's part of my future is because for me, it's a way to connect with my kids. Hopefully, later on in life, whenever they think of me, they remember me in the same way that this song says.
All right. Be honest. Did you cry in that movie?
Oh yes, I
Yeah.
cried,
Because I
but not
cried.
because of the movie, because of how much I pay for the popcorn and
Oh.
and the snacks.
He's here
You
all
cried
week.
too?
He's here all week, ladies and gentlemen. Tip
So
your
you cried
waiters.
too? You cried too,
Yeah.
It got to you.
Yeah, for sure. Like
It's so
just
well done.
man, the story and then the abuelita and
Yeah,
then
dude.
when they start singing this song, like I don't know.
Yes. No, yes. I feel the same way as you. I mean, it's our life, right?
Yeah.
You have a grandma or have or had a grandma like that, and yeah, me too. And like it's beautiful.
All the
And so
traditions, El Dia de los Muertos and
yeah,
like all that stuff was wrapped around in the mariachi, like yeah.
exactly.
And
And
the
my kids
mariachi
like the movie,
the
and they
mariachi
like
reminded
this
me
song.
of like Javier Solis or somebody like that. Did it remind you of like an old school mariachi? Yeah.
Yes, they based him on Pedro Infante and a little bit of Jorge Negrete. You're talking about Ernesto de la Cruz?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's definitely got that old golden age
Yeah.
of
My
Mexican
uncle was
cinema.
also part of the soundtrack. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Marco Antonio Solis. Yeah,
Ah!
he was part of theirs. So yeah, big shout out my uncle Marco Antonio Solis.
Yeah, he did the fast version of this song
Yeah, yeah.
in Spanish,
Yep.
and yeah, my kids know it in English and in Spanish, and so I just love it. Like I would have liked for this song to come out when I was a kid, and I'm glad that my kids are into it because to me there's hope.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
And I
you
actually Daniel has even recorded this song too, like
oh
did the
yeah.
karaoke. I have his audio singing to this song.
Speaking of
Yeah.
karaoke, you do like a mean like Whitney Houston. You remember
Oh,
that?
yes, at your house.
Yeah, I was surprised. Like we were just karaokeing, and then I thought you were kidding around. And you're like, "Hey, put Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You," and I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like, you know how hard it is, and you're like, "Yeah, just play it." And I was like, "Holy cow!" Like you hit like the high notes and everything, man.
Oh, I was being a clown, man. But yeah, that was a lot of fun at your house that one time. Do you still live at that house?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh, nice,
yeah.
bro.
We need to do a
That's such a nice
karaoke,
house.
another karaoke round.
Yeah, dude.
You guys
6 feet
karaoke a lot?
apart with a mask. Yeah, except my karaoke machine's not working anymore, but I need to get a better one. But yeah, we love it. My kids are into it. My wife likes it. There's videos of us doing karaoke, and yeah,
What's your go-to? Is it Whitney Houston? What's your go-to karaoke?
nah. I think you challenged. Actually, you challenged me that day,
Did I?
didn't you?
I don't even
I
remember.
don't.
I remember how you were surprised. Like you surprised me. Like you picked that song, and I don't remember what we were doing.
That's the only time I've ever sung it.
Really?
Like I usually do Billie Jean. Like if it's front of public, I'll do like Elvis songs, which I wanted to include Elvis songs on this list
Like
because my
Suavemente
dad.
or?
No, no, Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley, and you know, a lot of guys do his songs because of the same vocal range or whatever. But I really like Elvis's song "In the Ghetto," "Suspicious Minds," "Hunk of Burning Love." It's got the
Fools Rush In.
horns. "Fools Rush In."
Yeah,
Yeah, I even like that. I like
yeah.
his gospel songs. Like, and my dad likes Elvis too. So yeah, I usually do a lot of Elvis songs.
We're gonna do a complete 180 here. We're gonna have the one and only Lalo Mora. Tell me about this track.
So it's all about the lyrics, man. I love the way it's written and the story that it tells. And I was blessed to have a good dad that loved us and took care of us and taught me how to be a good dad. And I feel like I'm not half as good as my dad is, but I want to be a good dad. And this song is basically about being a good dad. And um, the day that I die, I would want. This is one of the songs I would like to be played at my funeral, and so that I want my kids to hear it and know the message.
Does your dad have like any famous sayings that like he would always tell you like to teach you lessons?
You know, I think, yeah, well, there's a lot of them. Um, Man, I can't think of any right now, but
Like my dad, every time that I would like ask him to buy something, and we didn't grow up with much, like he would always tell me like, "Al rato llueve y todos nos mojamos," and that would be basically it'd be like, not now, but maybe. So
yeah.
I still like remember that. Like he would always say that.
Wow, that's a good one, man. And there's a lot of this kind of stuff. Those kind of phrases are in this
Oh
song.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember like all his phrases he would tell me.
Yeah, and that's part of being a good dad, giving good advice. Like I got good advice from my mom and dad.
What would be the best advice that your dad ever gave you?
Wow, I think it wasn't so much that he gave me the advice, but the way that he would live his life. Like or still does, like always wanting to help people, and like on even people, strangers. Um, and always wanting to. He and my mom both always like to find solutions to problems. Um, like for example, something needs to be fixed or something's lost and then we got to find it. Like they're not afraid of a challenge.
You know what I remember about
So
your dad is that he built the whole set for El Ranchito. You remember
that's
that?
right.
And then the
Oh
little
yes.
stands, and they were like solid. Like they were like you could tell like he like over engineered. Like he didn't want any kids to get hurt. Like
Yeah.
that's one of the
I
things I
tell
remember the most.
I tell my dad that he's an engineer, and my mom helped me too with El Ranchito. That was fun, and having you on the show was awesome too. The very first episode,
Yeah. So for
and
those who
then
don't know, Greg used to have a kids show, and I don't even know like how did it get started or how did you come up with the idea? Because it was like official, like it would come on Saturday mornings, right? On
yeah,
actual television. Was it Telemundo?
it was on Telemundo
Yeah,
and Univision.
both. Okay.
Back then, it was two different companies here in Oklahoma City.
And then you would
But
have
yeah,
sponsors, like actual commercials, like for the show and everything, right?
right. Yeah, there was a daycare, an auto dealership, and Michael Brooks Jimenez.
Nice.
They were the sponsors.
What? How did
Big
that come
deal.
about? Like you just always wanted to have a show, or what?
Yeah, my dad would tell me about a show that he would watch as a kid called Foreman Scotty here locally, and it was pretty much the same show, but wanted to do it in Spanish, and so it was just an idea that I had. I had just finished working at Sesame Street in New York City,
Wait, how are
so I
you just
wanted to.
gonna like just brush over that? How, I didn't know you worked at Sesame Street.
Oh, I thought you knew that, dude.
No,
Oh,
tell me
oh
about
yeah, dude.
that. A
That was
little light flex. Yeah, my
I
days at Sesame Street.
was just an intern. I did a whole year, half in the production department and half in research, and oh, I learned a lot. It was a lot of fun. I mean, uh, when I realized that Sesame Street is recorded in New York City, I was like, I'm here in New York City, and they have internships. I got to try this. Educational television, educational media is a big part of my life. So I got the chance to work there and got to see them record. Like they were making Elmo's World while I was there, and got to see the studio.
Wow.
It was a lot of fun, and so I wanted to. That's part of the inspiration. Like I wanted to have my own kids show, and I still do. I'd love to have a show that is on Disney Junior or
Well,
Noggin.
the crazy thing about that, like now you don't have to have like this big production, like you can put it online and it'd probably get viewed by even more people than if
Yeah.
it were on like traditional media. So,
Yes.
I mean, I think it's
No,
even
you're
more
right.
doable now.
You're right. This is the time to do it, and it's probably not a day that doesn't go by that I don't think about it. I have a list of on my Evernote too of possible kids shows, like
Awesome.
concepts
And you
for
remember
kids shows.
the backdrops and everything were like hand painted. You remember that?
Yeah, dude. That's what I'm telling you.
And then
My brother Josh helped me with that too. My cousin Gucci.
we went to a actual ranch for one of the shows. Remember that? With like
Yes.
animals and
Yeah, dude, with the little horses.
yeah.
He, no, how was it that somebody knew him and he asked if we could record at his ranch, and it was a lot of work, dude. Like editing the video, and um, those are some crazy times, man. But we were like, you were 26, I think.
I don't
I was
remember.
27, something like that.
We're like, oh sure, like yeah, we could do that, no problem. TV show, no problem. And that's the thing, like you got to dream big, dream big, and just like I don't know, you
Just
learn
do
so
it.
many lessons about like production and camera and behind the scenes, like
Oh yeah.
and that car commercial was it a no? It was a law commercial one time. You remember that?
Yeah, we talking about for Michael Brooks.
Was that for him? I remember that like you asked me to drive a car and pretend that we got into a wreck and we didn't have our seatbelts on.
Oh, that was
You remember that?
Allstate.
Okay, Allstate. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah. That's
remember
right,
that?
bro. You were the dad in
I
that
was
one.
the bad driver with like, I'm about to crash. I forgot about
Wow,
that until just now.
dude, I forgot about that too, man. It was I can't remember, it was a local Allstate agent. That
That's funny
is funny, dude. We've had some adventures, man.
for sure.
And
Now
now the
this,
podcast.
yeah, this next song, it reminds me of a movie. Is it from a movie?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. This is from Smokey and the Bandit,
that's what it is.
and it's basically a truck driving song. We have a recording of my dad's dad, my grandpa, calling into the radio station asking for this song,
Oh yeah,
and he was a truck driver.
your dad drove a
Um,
semi for a while too, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
He still is a truck driver, and his brothers were truck drivers, and yeah, it's just a family tradition, and so this song is about that, and that's why I really like it. Plus the upbeat.
Did you
I
ever
like
go
that
on any
tempo.
trips like on the
Oh
semi?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. My dad has taken us
What's the
for
furthest you
sure.
ever went?
Oh, not long, not far. He's always just done stuff locally, like within the tri-state area. I think that time we went to Fort Smith, Arkansas, I think. Even my grandpa took us on a trip once up to Ponca City. Yeah, it's pretty cool, man.
Did you
And I
ever
like
learn
that
how to
guitar
drive?
solo. I still don't know how to
They've
drive,
got
man.
like what 20 gears or something, like 18 gears.
Yeah,
How many?
13.
13.
Yeah,
Man,
they have. Yeah, it depends on what kind of motor it is, but yeah, it's. I'd like to do it, man. I'd like to one day get my CDL driver's license.
just to flex or what? What do you?
Yeah, yeah. Since it's a tradition. So,
Yeah,
so the tradition don't stop.
that's awesome. I knew that the song reminded me of a movie or something, but I couldn't like put it in place. But yeah,
That's
now
right.
I see it. Yeah,
Kind of like a convoy too.
yeah. Did you have a CB growing up?
I think my dad did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever worked though, or at least we never got it. But or my grandpa had it. But yeah,
I remember one time I found one and I started playing music on one of the channels, and the truck drivers got mad and they're like, "Hey kid, get off the channel," like I was
oh
using it like
wow,
as a radio station. I was trying to play music and they were like
wow,
super mad, and I was like, "Oh crap."
oh wow. Did they start cussing at you too?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I found out that I guess they do like radio checks, like, like, hey, I need a radio check or whatever. So I was always doing that too. And they were like, hey, kid, you already asked for a radio check. Like, get out of here.
Oh wow. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Bro, it's still out there.
CBs.
We
Yeah. And
we
right
might need
now,
it.
with all the craziness going on, I mean, they're kind of keeping everything running, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah, I mean,
all the
this
merchandise and
the
everything.
world relies on truck drivers, and if the cell phone towers go down, we're gonna need to have CB.
What do you
Yeah,
think
it's
about Elon Musk, the self-driving semis? You think it's going to happen?
oh man, if it does, it's gonna be a long, long time from now. Um, I'm not too worried about it. I think that there's always going to be a need for somebody to transport goods like that. Yeah, I don't think it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy.
I don't know. Have you been in a Tesla? Like, it's pretty impressive of how I can recognize like signs as you're driving by, and then other cars, and Like it does a decent job. I mean, I don't think I would be watching movies like some of the people that have passed away because they weren't paying attention at all. But I
Yeah,
mean,
or falling asleep.
yeah,
That's crazy. I want a
crazy.
Tesla though. I would
They're
love to have a nice Tesla sedan.
yeah, they're pretty awesome. And then all
Yeah.
the Easter eggs that they put into the cars. Have you seen that?
No.
Yeah, so you can like if you hit like combinations in the car, like you can play like a racing game inside the car, and you can use the
Oh.
actual like steering wheel to like play the game. Like they're always
Oh,
putting like Easter eggs inside their software
that is crazy.
because
Of
like
course, while you're in park.
yeah, of course, but it's like you can get a software update, and all of a sudden it's like a new car. It's kind of like a cell phone. Like you have a new app, and it's kind of cool. You know,
That is so cool, man. You got a pretty good Apple screen in your car, right? The
Apple TV.
Apple
Yeah,
Apple TV.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I just do that for music, just like to airplay of music videos.
Nice.
That's
Even
really,
while you're in drive.
let's save that for another day.
But like for the back seat.
Yeah, for the back seat, absolutely. All right, this next song, Gospel Gangsters. Roll
Oh
on.
yeah, this is the one I mentioned earlier.
So this is
Oh,
like
oh no, this is I told you the wrong one.
wrong one?
This is yeah, it's actually I thought I sent it to you, but this is not the one I was talking about.
Okay.
But if you want, we can just skip it since I already talked about it.
Yeah. So this just brings you back to the minivan, listening to
Yeah.
the bass.
Right. You know, I didn't tell you. Oh no, I sent you the YouTube of it. Of them.
This is Gospel
Yeah.
Gangsters.
It's the same group, but different song. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, no, it takes me back to that time for sure. Yeah, I told you the wrong title. That was my fault.
We get the vibe though. We get the West Coast. We get the bass. Like we got it.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. The one I was talking about is called "Oh Double G's Go On,"
Oh, okay.
and it's very funk. It's much more funky.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna wrap it up with Tony Vega. Tell me about.
Oh yeah. Well, I just really like this medley. It's more than one song, and it's talking about this old salsa singer named Ismael Rivera, and so he's one of my favorite salsa singers. Tony Vega he's actually the first guy I ever heard sing a salsa song,
Really?
and yeah, it was on a cumbia record LP,
Where were you?
and I was in my bedroom, and I was like 17 or something like that, listening to these old cumbia vinyl records, and all of a sudden there's a salsa song on there, and with all these other cumbia stuff, and it was Tony Vega, and I was like, I had never heard that sound before, and it was even before Buena Vista Social Club, and it sounded so different to me. But yeah, this song is awesome, and like again, this is one of the songs that I could never get tired of listening to, because it's several songs in one.
And it has so many layers between like the timbales and the trumpets, and like you can hear
Yes.
like that's something that happens to me. I don't know if it happens to you when you're listening to a song and you hear like all the instruments separately. Like, can you do that? Like, where you like,
Oh, yeah.
oh, like I hear the
Yeah.
bass or I hear the drummer, or like
Yes.
a lot of
I couldn't
people
do it at first.
a lot of people can't do that, and I'm always like, don't
No.
you hear like what the bass player is doing right there? Like,
No, you're right. Not a lot of people can do it, and it took. I had to practice. Like, it's hard to do, but to ignore the other instruments to focus in on one.
yeah,
But yeah, I did it a lot with salsa to try to figure out which instrument was doing what, and I watched videos. I'd like to get to the point where I could play each instrument in this type of music.
wow,
Yeah,
that's quite the
And-
bucket list.
it is. It
You
is
know,
one of my It's on my bucket list.
For me, it's the piano, learning how to play the piano, and I
Oh.
still haven't been able to figure it out. I get frustrated. Like I'm trying to like read music, but maybe I don't need to do that. Maybe I just need to like learn chords or something. I don't know, but I always get
Learn
frustrated.
Learn chords. You don't need to really learn the sheet music.
No, you don't think so?
No, I don't think so, because I mean, if you were a studio pianist and somebody paying you by the hour to play, and they need you to learn the song real quick, yeah, you would need to read the sheet music. Or if you're a classical pianist, but if you're doing it in a pop band or anything related to pop, with other musicians, chords.
They're just gonna like hum it, and then you just kind of have to mimic what they're humming or something. You think, or what?
No, they tell you what key they're in, and you do have to know music theory, but you don't have to know how to read the sheet music.
I see. Okay. Yeah, maybe I just need to do a different approach because I haven't been able to do that. Maybe that's why I DJ, because I can never play an instrument.
No, you're gonna do it, bro. You're gonna do it.
We'll see.
We're gonna make original music together.
You can play. So you play timbales. What else can you play?
Bass.
Bass.
In the mariachi, I played bass. I know how to play electric bass. I know how to play chords on the piano. And that's it. I wish I could play guitar or something melodic like saxophone or violin or something, trumpet. But to me, that stuff is hard. But it takes a lot of time. But no, basically, I guess you could say anything in the rhythm section.
I like it.
Okay.
Cool,
Yeah.
man. Well, you've taken us to quite the journey here, like all over the place, different genres, different times. Like, it's an awesome playlist. You know, thank you for that. I'm glad you didn't show up with a bunch of like, you know, top 40 songs.
Oh yeah.
You know, that you hear all the time or something. Like, this was really diverse. You know, super different. You know, all the way through. So, thanks for being on the show. And one of the things that I want to do is have each of the guests ask a question for the audience. So, what's a good question that you would ask the audience? It could be anything.
Man, I would ask them right now, you know, we're going through this coronavirus epidemic, COVID-19. And I guess I would ask them is how do they think their life is going to change now that we've gone through this?
Excellent question. I think it already has changed, right? Like, it's proven that people can work from home now. A lot of people, you know, didn't believe that would work. So that happened. And then now, like, every time you go somewhere, at least me, I always like freak myself out. Like, oh, I just touched that. Oh, I just did this. Like, man, like that drives me crazy. Cause like, I'm always like washing my hands now. And it's like, there's like, oh, like there's this loophole. You just did this, so now you have to wash your hands again. It's crazy. I never used to think about that.
But what I want to know is there has been a lot of changes, but are they going to stay?
Yeah.
Right? Time will tell.
That's a good question. So we'll see what people say.
Because we got to go out to eat, bro. We got to go back to the main event.
Man, you know the words like, can I start you off with drinks and appetizers? Man, I want to hear that so bad. Like, it's incredible. Man.
It's been 2 months, bro?
I don't know.
Wow.
Too long.
Too long, dude.
It's just like,
I really want to go to the movie theater, but I haven't figured out how I'm going to eat popcorn with a mask on.
Yeah. Like, you remember when we used to eat outside? You remember that?
Yeah. Those were the good old days.
Hey,
like
man.
3 months ago.
Well, that's an excellent question. Thanks for being on the show. You know, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning and we're doing this. So that's some dedication.
Yeah, it is. No, you and I have been trying to do this for a long time. So I'm glad we finally got to do it. And, you know, I admire you and I respect you very much. For me, it's an honor to be on this show with you. The one and only DJ Maverick.
There you go. I can't follow that up. We're just going to wrap it up right there. Thanks a lot, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for checking us out. Just chill till the next episode.
Yo no fui nada, nada,